You stand up with a clear plan in your head. You know exactly what you need. You can almost see it. You walk into the next room, and it's gone. The thought just vanished. Mid-step, you're standing there now, staring at the room. Why did you come in here? You retrace it. You were on the couch. You needed something. It was important. Nothing. So, you do the only thing that works. You walk back out. And the second you reach the other room, it snaps back. Of course, the charger. This happens to everyone. It happens to you probably every single day. And almost everyone blames the same thing. Ugh, my memory. But your memory is fine, because here's the strange part. A second ago, you held that thought perfectly. You walked 5 steps. Nothing hit you. Nobody spoke. You didn't lose that thought because your brain is weak. You lost it because you walked through a door. That's not a joke. It has a name. Scientists call it the doorway effect. And it's not random. It's a clue. A clue about something your brain is doing all day long, silently, without ever asking you. Let's start with the obvious question. Maybe it's just the walking. Maybe moving around shakes the thought loose. A psychologist named Gabriel Radvansky wondered the same thing. So around 2011, he and his team decided to test it. They built a simple little world on a computer screen, plain rooms, a few tables, objects you could pick up and carry. Here was the task. You walk to a table, you grab an object, but it goes into a virtual backpack, so you can't see it anymore. You only have to remember what you're holding. Then you carry it somewhere else and set it down. Easy, and as you walked, the computer would suddenly stop you and ask, "What are you carrying right now?" Sometimes they made you walk a long way across one big room, and sometimes they made you walk the same distance, but through a doorway into a new room. Same steps, same time, same object in the backpack. The only difference was the door, and the result was clear. When people walked through a doorway, they forgot more. They were slower to answer. They made more mistakes. The walking wasn't the problem, the door was. Now, you might be thinking, it's a computer game. Of course it's a little weird. The team thought of that too, so they did it again. In a real room, with a real table, a real box, real objects you carried in your hands, and the same thing happened. Walk across the room, fine. Walk through a doorway, and the thought got fuzzy. A real door, in the real world, quietly deleting a thought from a real person's head. But they weren't done. Because there's an even stranger version of this. Think back to what you do at home. You forget, so you walk back to the first room, and it comes back. So the team tested that too. They sent people through a doorway, then had them walk back through it, into the very room where they had picked up the object. If the door erased the memory, surely going back would restore it, right? It helped a little. But it didn't fully fix it. Just standing in the original room again wasn't enough to bring the thought all the way back. So now we have a real puzzle. A doorway, a thing you don't even notice, can reach into your mind and pull out a thought. And going backward through it doesn't cleanly undo the damage. Why on earth would your brain be built like that? To answer that, we have to talk about something bigger. We have to talk about how your brain stores your entire life. You feel like your life is one smooth, continuous movie. Wake up, brush teeth, eat, work, talk, walk, sleep. One long, unbroken stream of you. But that's not how your brain keeps it. Your brain doesn't record one endless tape. It can't. It would drown in detail. So instead, it does something clever. It chops your day into pieces, little chunks, scenes. Scientists call them events. Making breakfast is one event. Driving to work is another. That conversation in the hallway is another. Your brain quietly slices your life at the seams and files each scene away as its own little package. And here's the key question. How does your brain know where one scene ends and the next begins? It looks for signals. Moments where the world clearly changes. The conversation ends, the car stops, the music turns off. Researchers call these moments event boundaries. And it turns out, one of the strongest boundaries of all is a doorway. Think about it. For your whole life, walking through a door has meant the same thing. The scene is changing. New room, new place, new situation. So your brain treats the doorway as a giant signal that says, this scene is over. And the moment it gets that signal, it does its job. It takes the scene you were just in, the room, the couch, the plan in your head, and it files the whole package away. Then it opens a fresh, empty one for the new room. But your little goal, go get the charger, was riding inside the old package. So, when the brain filed the old scene away, it filed your reason away with it. You didn't lose the thought. Your brain put it in a box and carried it into the basement. It's still down there, perfectly safe, just out of reach. This is why standing in the new room feels so blank. You're holding an empty folder. The right one got shelved the second you crossed the line. And now that little trick you do at home suddenly makes sense. When you walk back into the old room, you're handing your brain the same signals it filed the memory under. The couch, the angle, the light. Sometimes that's enough to pull the box back off the shelf. The charger. So the doorway effect isn't a glitch, it's the opposite. It's a window into a system that's working perfectly. Your brain is constantly, automatically packing up the past to make room for the present. Boundaries are how it stays organized, and a doorway just happens to be one of the loudest new scene signals you walk into all day. But before you go, blame every door in your house. I have to be honest with you, because good science doesn't stop at the first cool answer. It pokes at it. The original studies were striking, but later researchers asked a fair question. How big is this effect really, in everyday life? So in 2021, another team tried to push it harder. They built rooms in virtual reality, with a headset, fully immersive. They even made every room look identical, so the only thing that changed was the boundary itself. And here's what they found. When the task was easy, when your mind wasn't very busy, the doorway barely did anything. People walked through and remembered just fine. The forgetting only really showed up when they piled on the pressure, when people had to juggle a second task at the same time, and their working memory was already stuffed full. Then the door bit. So the doorway effect is real, but it's not some magic memory eraser that gets everyone every time. It seems to strike when you're already loaded down, when your hands are full and your head is full and you're half thinking about 3 other things, which, honestly, is exactly when it happens to you. You're never standing up to fetch one calm thing. You're holding a fragile little thought on top of everything else, and that's the moment the door is most likely to knock it loose. Now here's where it gets bigger than your living room, because if a real doorway can quietly file away your thoughts, what about a fake one? Watch what happens when you read a story. In a book, an author can write one tiny line, 3 hours later, or, on the other side of the country, you didn't move, you're still on the couch, but your mind just crossed a boundary, and researchers have measured this. When you hit a line like that, readers actually get a little slower to remember what was happening before it. The story shifted scenes, so your brain quietly packed up the old one. Same trick, no real door at all, just words. Movies do it too. Think about a hard cut. 1 second you're in a kitchen, the next, you're on a beach. In real life, that jump would be insane, but you don't even blink. Your brain just goes, new scene, files the kitchen away, and follows along. This is why a good story can carry you across years and cities and feel completely natural. Every meanwhile and every cut is a tiny doorway built on purpose. The same system that loses your charger is the system that lets you follow a movie. So that blank moment in the hallway isn't some bug in a cheap machine. It's a side effect of the exact thing that makes you able to live a life that has any shape at all. So here's the reframe. For your whole life, you've treated this as a tiny personal failure, a sign you're scattered, a sign you're getting old, a sign your memory is going. It's none of those things. It's the cost of an incredible feature. Your brain is editing your life into scenes in real time, so you can actually find your memories later instead of drowning in one endless blur. Doorways are just the cuts between scenes. Most of the time, you never notice the editing at all. It's invisible, seamless. The "why am I here" moment is one of the rare times you catch your own mind in the act. So, look back at that blank second in the doorway. You standing there, the plan gone, feeling for just a moment a little broken. You weren't broken. You were watching your brain close one chapter of your life and open the next, exactly the way it's done it for every single moment you've ever lived. The thought wasn't lost. You just walked into a new scene and left it in the last one.